Morning, students. Today I'm going to share with you what we will be learning this week. And so let's get started. First thing, you will be learning 2 standards this week. One that you have already worked on, and then a new part to it. The first standard is the highly proficient student can analyze and explain how different plot elements work together to build a story, drama, or poem, which means that you will still be using a plot diagram in some of the work that you will be doing this week. But for the most part, you will just be doing a lot of recall, remembering what each part is. And the essential question for that are, first one is, what are the 6 aspects of plot and where are they found? Second one is, how are they interconnected? Why is the order important? Second standard is the highly proficient student can determine implicitly stated themes and summarize a story, drama, or poem using evidence from the text. And the essential questions for that is, what is theme? How do I use evidence from the text to support the theme? How do the challenges that a character faces connect to the theme? How is imagery used in poetry to convey the theme? So we will be working more with theme. Theme you guys did on the plot diagram, and you probably have some idea of how to do it. So the first one, the first standard, there are 6 elements of plot. The first one is the exposition. The exposition is where you label your characters and setting. The next part is the part where you're going up the hill. That's the rising action, and you would know it because it's going up. That means it's rising. So that's where you write down the events that the character goes through, and this is where the problem starts, and the problem gets worse as it goes higher. The next part is the climax, which is the tip of the mountain. And the climax is the part where the character changes. The character realizes they're being too mean and decides to be nice. Or the character is doing something wrong and they realize it and they decide to do it another way. So this is the part where the character changes. Next part is the falling action. That's when you're going back down the mountain, and these are all the events that happen with the character, all positive things. Positive means good things. All the good things that happen to the character as the story is almost over. The story is almost over. The fifth one is resolution. Resolution is usually the end of the story, and that part tells us about how the problem was solved. And then there's conflict. Who is the character struggling with? The character is usually struggling with someone, and there's usually a protagonist and antagonist. The protagonist is the good person, the antagonist is the bad person. So here is your setup for a plot diagram. You have the straight line that starts, that's the exposition, then the heel goes up, that's the rising action. This tip up here is the climax. When you start going back down, that's the falling action, and then the straight line at the end is the resolution. So all this plays into putting a story together. This is the same as doing a story map. Okay, next, we're going to be discussing theme. What is theme? Theme is the message about life that you get from the story or poem. Themes can be one word or a phrase. themes are what the author wants us to learn. What does the author want us to learn from this story? And here is our anchor chart for theme. You had some other anchor charts that were with your story, with your lesson last week. Use those and you won't have any problems with this. Okay, next thing, there's two things that go with your standard this week, which is imagery and text evidence. So we're going to discuss those. The first one is imagery. If you look at this anchor chart, it only talks about your five senses: what you smell, see, hear, taste, and touch. So imagery is looking for words that describe things we can taste, feel, see, hear, and smell. So these are things you're going to look for in your poems this week to see if it helps you come up with your theme. Next one is text evidence. Text evidence is a strategy that you use to help you prove your answer. So it tells you, read the text, think about the question, search for the specific parts of the text to answer the question. So text evidence is looking for words in the story that will help you support your answer. So let's go to an example. My example is this poem written by Shel Silverstein. This is a voice. There is a voice inside of you that whispers all day long. I feel that it is right for me. I know that this is wrong. No teacher, preacher, parent, friend, or wise man can decide what's right for you. Just listen to the voice that speaks inside. So the first thing we're going to look for is imagery. What imageries do we see in here? One is voice inside, because that's something you would feel inside of you. You would think it, so you feel it. Whispers, that's something you do, something you speak, something you say, whispers. Listens and speaks, those are still things that you do. You hear with it, you speak with it. So now we have to decide, what is the theme? The theme, we're going to have to look at the character. From the beginning, there is a voice inside of you that whispers all day long. So the character is listening to the voices inside. And then it says, I feel that this is right for me. I know that this is wrong. So the character is struggling to see if they can figure out if something's right or wrong. So they're struggling with figuring out if something's right or wrong. And then it says, no teacher, preacher, parent, friend, or wise man can decide. He's saying nobody else can decide to make this decision for me. Nobody else can help me with this. And then it says, what's right for you, just listen to the voice that speaks inside. So he's saying that if he listens to himself, he will be able to get the answer that he needs. So one thing that I came up with is making good decisions. If you know right from wrong, you're able to make a good decision depending on what you know is right and wrong. And the other one is doing what is right. Because of him talking to himself and all that, people go through this all the time. You do something wrong and it's telling you, go apologize, go make it right somehow. And that's what you do. So this is something that the person was struggling with internally. So the conflict is the character versus self. They're struggling with something inside that they have to decide on. So this is the way we're going to be doing things this week. You can stop by at 8 o'clock in the morning to watch me do some examples so that you know what to do on your assignments. Until then, I will see you guys and have a great day. Bye.